Hello, hello, my hey, I got something to say. I hope you're having so much fun spending time with family and friends on the holidays. I know you are because you tell me, you keep telling me what you're doing. And before I bring on my next guest, Gina, who's awesome, I just want you to know I was a little bit jealous of some of the things you're doing in the holidays. And some of them just involved all the things you're doing with your grandkids and your little kids. I don't have any little kids or grandkids right now. I need to rent them so I can do fun things like that. Gina Schaefer is in the house. Gina, how are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. Maybe I should rent some grandkids too. I love this idea.
Well, we're at this mode, like, I got kids. I have a lot of kids around me in my house that are 21 and 22, but I got no grandkids. I got
Yeah,
little.
yeah.
I
I
thought if I
sent
could cook them, that wouldn't be good.
I have a sweet friend in Colorado who's turning 10 today, and I sent her six, not 10, but 6 pints of ice cream. It's nice that you can do that from afar now through DoorDash. It'll show up on her door when she gets home from school, but it's not as fun as being there eating the ice cream with her or taking her to the ice cream shop. I need her to be here.
Wait a minute. I like that. See, now that's clever. So what you did is you sent ice cream.
I did for her birthday.
That's like an experience. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's great. I couldn't be there, but it was the next best thing.
All right, I'm gonna write that down and take that out. Ice.
I also happen to love ice cream, so we share that in common, and it was a very good way for me to be there for her birthday and not be there.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
All right, maybe we should stay slightly on topic. Let's start first with I asked you your mindset ritual. You're like, well, make sure I get it right. I don't really have specific one, but a lot of times I ask, what is the one conversation I can have today that will make, she emphasized, make my day? Okay, please tell me more. And do you do that first thing in the morning or depending on how you feel that day?
Well, I don't do anything in the morning until I've had 2 cups of coffee. So
Nice.
I should say that while I'm having my cup of coffee, thinking about my day, I think about who I want to actually talk on the phone with that day because I like to talk on the phone. I think it's a great way to be connected. I don't think we do it enough these days. And usually, the person that I decide that I'm going to call that day or people, and I don't always get through to all of them, usually something about that conversation ends up being one of the best parts of my day. So, and I'd like to think that it goes both ways. It's not just making my day, but I hope that I'm
I'm
infusing
sure it is.
joy in someone else's day. If they answer the phone, they clearly want to talk to me, right? So yeah, I think that's
Yes,
it.
that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, I love the old fashioned. I like the way we say the old fashioned. Let's
Old
just
fashioned.
pick up the phone. How did this start? Because I've talked to many people around the world and there's all kinds of rituals, but this is a unique one. What made you think I'm going to do this every day? Who can I call to make my day?
I have a friend whose father was a travel agent. He's elderly now, the father, and he had an old-fashioned Rolodex. And when I was in my 20s and getting to know this friend and his family and becoming a young professional, the father would go through his Rolodex every day and he would call a couple people. Now he did it for business development. He knew that even though we were young and didn't have a dime to our names, eventually we would probably want to travel, and he wanted us to know that he had an agency. And so he would just call. He would randomly call people. And I knew I was on his rotation because every couple months I'd get a call. And I never forgot that lesson. And then as I grew older, I had another friend that I worked for as her assistant, much older than me, who did something similar. She was a fundraiser. And she might not call and ask you for money, but she would call you and check in. And I knew she was doing it because the next time she was fundraising for something, you would take her call. And so I just sort of developed this habit over the years of keeping in touch, which, eventually became I'll just email you. But I don't think that's fun. I think during COVID, I went back to, no, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to actually make it a real conversation.
Okay, so I got to step up my game. I thought I was doing good. I do that with texting. I do
Yeah.
this thing periodically come in my mind. I got fun emojis and gifts going on,
Yeah.
but I know that I don't have to put time into a conversation.
A long call. Yeah. Yeah. I text a lot too. I'm with you. I mean, the calls might be one or two people a day or every other day, but
That's still
the
really good.
texting can happen. Yeah. I mean, the texting can happen when you're having your coffee or getting ready to go to bed or whatever. But the calls are a commitment.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to try to do better on that one because you're right. Calls, if they pick up, they pick up. You never know. You're right. But if
Yeah.
they pick up, they must have time to talk to you.
They must.
All right, I do have to ask this because I got so many questions when they saw that. They want to know. Wait, we got to make sure it's here. Oh yeah. Do you, oh my God, because I sent it out today because I got it. My friends were like, wait a minute, does she put a time limit on it? Like, does she know she has 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Well, they need to know more here.
Okay, I'm going to be completely honest with you because you asked or because your friend asked. If it is a particularly chatty person I'm calling, and I am very chatty, but if I'm calling someone who is equally or more chatty, equally or chattier, I will at the front of the conversation say I only have 15 minutes or I only have usually 30. I try to allocate at least 30 minutes because I have some friends that once we get started, the whole morning's gone. And then I'm a little bummed, right? Because there's other things that I could be doing or that he or she could be doing. So I'm thinking about I have this dear friend who is, I mean, he just talks so much and I love him. But I will say at the beginning of a call, I only have 30 minutes.
No, I get that. So my friends know if I call them, and I do.
Hmm.
Where are you going? That means they know I'm in my car while I'm calling.
Yeah,
And is that okay? Does that
yeah.
count?
Well, I think keeping yourself occupied on long commutes is very important, and I think it's a great time to catch up with friends. Yes.
All right, maybe we should tell them a little bit about what you do.
I love this.
I never had that. That's pretty funny. All
I'll have
right.
to tell you about my dinner parties at some point. Not now, but at some point I'll tell you about my dinner parties.
Okay, let's just tell them a little bit about you and then we'll get into the dinner parties. All right. Gina
Okay.
Schaefer is the founder and former CEO of 13 Ace hardware stores. Her and I were just like going through that because we had an Ace hardware store in my town. It was awesome and it closed, but that's a whole nother podcast. With nearly 22 years of experience in community building and business transformation, she grew her business from 1 to 13 locations, employing over 300 team members, many of whom are now co-owners. She is also the author of Recovery Hardware. Wait a minute. And she didn't mention in here she's a kick-ass keynote speaker. Where's that in this short? Gina
Can I
Schaefer,
add those exact words?
kick-ass kick. Matter of fact, she spoke the year before me, and I was getting heebies because everyone there was this woman there. I'm like, yeah, I know who she is.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Okay, so I do want to hear about the parties, but we're going to go into the power statement first. I think you can see I have
Okay.
a very disciplined outline. Um,
Okay.
okay, all these things have stories. That's the problem. You
Right.
are somebody. All it takes is one person to say, do, or be someone to someone, and we can change a life, including our own. This had to come from somewhere.
It did. So, this is the long story short. When I was writing my book, I came across this quote and it said, I always wondered when somebody would do something about that, and then I realized I was somebody. And it was such a powerful quote to me. And it was attributed to Lily Tomlin, who I really love.
I love her.
Yeah, I do too. And
Okay.
so I put the quote at the beginning of my book and I attributed it to her and I wrote the book and I shipped it off to the editor and they send your books through a fact checker. And the fact checker came back and they said, "We really can't prove that Lily Tomlin said this. So we think you should just have it in your book as an anonymous person." I wanted to have an excuse to send my book to Lily Tomlin, I
Hell
think.
yeah.
Well, now I can't because maybe she thinks she did say the quote and it's in my book without her name. Anyway, I have over the 20 years of building my business realized that every little thing that we do, say, or become can make an impact on someone else's life and on our own, meaning all of the people that I hired who people would say, "Oh, you're giving them a great chance or a second chance," always made an impact on my life. And so, "You are somebody" became a mantra for me. It's a pin that I give out when I speak. It's a quote that I firmly believe in. I think, we have often have these grandiose beliefs that we're not doing something unless we're saving the world, and most of us aren't going to cure cancer or end hunger, but we can end hunger for one person, we can provide a job for one person, we can give someone an ear when they need one. So you are somebody.
I have to tell you this because I just heard it on Sunday. A singer-songwriter wrote a song about a starfish, and it was all about he was a little kid and he was trying to throw some of the starfish back in the ocean because it was going to be ocean going out and they were going to fry from the sun.
Yep.
And, and his dad said to him,
You got to
there's
save them.
thousands, yeah, of stars. You heard, and he made this song about it. And I was like, oh my God, that's so true. Like, well, this one will be happy, and
Yep.
that's exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying.
That's an old fable or parable, I think. I've never heard the song, but I've heard that story. Like,
Oh, well, then he made it like I thought it was his story, but maybe it was just a fable that he wrote a song about. Yeah.
yes. Yeah. And it's true. I mean, I can't give everybody a job, but the one person who I give a job to might also be supporting three children and a spouse and elderly parents. And, there's a lot of ripple effects that we don't think about when we think we have to do something on this grand scale.
I think that's so important because I just was talking to another woman entrepreneur, and she says sometimes she feels guilty, like she's not doing enough.
Mm,
And like, and she helps so many people.
yeah.
But there's always
Yeah.
that one person, and she has to draw. I'm going to make sure she sends this podcast to her.
Okay, please do. I mean, there's always more. I think we can always do more. I think there's lots of people who don't do anything, frankly, but it's one little thing.
Yeah,
And
don't look at
every
it like, what's that going to matter? That it does matter.
exactly,
It does
exactly.
matter.
Yes.
Okay. Now, before we get into your tips, tell me about the dinner party you're going to invite me to.
Oh, yeah, you should come. So this was
I don't even know where you live. DC?
I'm in Washington, D.C. You're not that
Oh,
far,
I
right?
love DC. Yeah.
You can take the train. You can take the main line
Oh,
to
my
both
Aunt Bertie
Amtrak.
lived there. I used to go there all the time. It's one of my
Yes.
favorite cities. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
We'll be like,
Um,
Sandy's here. Oh, shit.
So I can't take credit for this. This was a brainchild of one of my really good friends, but we started hosting every other month a dinner called A Casual Dinner with Interesting People. And we realized we were morning walking partners, and we realized that we kept telling these stories about people we knew who were doing really cool things, running a nonprofit, collecting for this, leading this group, just really cool stuff. And we decided we wanted all of our friends to meet each other, but we wanted it to be manageable. And so we put together a list of, I don't know, 40 people that we wanted to invite to dinner, but we were going to cap it. I think originally we capped it at like 12 and we inched it up to about 20. And we drew names out of a hat because we didn't want anyone to feel left out. I mean, we didn't tell them their name was going in a hat, but and we had a dinner party, and we called it, casual dinner with interesting people, and it was so fun. I remember vividly that first one. There were like four people specifically that walked in that already knew each other, and it was like, you know, smiles and cheers and oh my gosh, I know who you are. And then my friend and I got so excited because we were helping make these connections that we started doing it every other month. And so people don't always get invited back each time because we keep adding to the list and we want,
Yeah.
that network to grow. But it's so much fun. So much fun.
Okay. So, again, is there a time, like how much, how long is the dinner party? Is there a beginning, middle, or end? Or is it just about getting the people together and yipping and yapping?
There's no formula. Amy and I do not speak. There is no agenda. We serve the food. You don't have to bring anything. We're like, just show up and have fun. I
Wait a
think we
minute.
used
You
to
serve the
start it.
food and you don't have to bring anything? Oh,
No, we don't even do it as a potluck. We pay for it. We serve the food. We either cook or cater. Um, we have wine and alcohol if they want it or no alcohol. 6:30. I never put a cap. I never put an end time on parties at my house. So we just 6:30 to whenever. And I suppose they usually go till 9:30-ish. That's always a school night. So most people
oh,
have to go to work the next day. Yeah.
I bet
Yeah.
you learn so much at those dinners.
They're
I mean,
so fun.
and
So
so many
fun.
things you didn't think of because these are interesting people from all different types of backgrounds.
Oh my gosh, I've met people doing the coolest things. Um, I mean, it's a curated list. You were invited because you're doing something really interesting, and we want other people to know you for what you're doing. Um,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
so okay, what's something that you think is very interesting that they're doing?
Well, so for example, my friend Marcus Bullock is a returning citizen who started a app called Flickshop. And Flickshop is an app that allows you to basically put postage on the app to mail letters and pictures to loved ones in prison because you can't text or write emails to folks who are living in prison. And when he was incarcerated, his mom wrote him a letter every single day, and that's what kept him connected to the outside world. But he realized he was special. Like he had a mom that cared and had the means and ability to write him a letter and mail it every single day. So Marcus is one of the people that has been invited because he's doing something really, really, really interesting. My friend Sarah started a company called 20 Degrees. She consults with nonprofits that want to build a funding model into their nonprofit model. So, for example, um, I'm not going to give you a good example, but most nonprofits, 90% of them rely on donations, foundations, giving. She believes that if nonprofits could build a revenue stream that doesn't rely on donations into their business model, they'll have greater success. So she works with nonprofits to figure out what that business model is. Maybe they own property, they
Ingenious.
become renters. Yeah, yeah,
Genius. Both of them
yeah,
are. So wait,
yeah.
back up to the friend. Tell me again what he invented so he can go into prisons.
Oh, it's an app called Flickshop,
Mhm.
Flickshop. So you can send an email to a loved one, and the app, the people who run the app for him, will print the email and mail it for you because you can't email into prison. So you can actually send pictures of your loved ones, you can send letters, and the app makes sure that it gets printed and posted. It's great. So great.
He should do that too for mental health institutions because they can't get letters or cards.
Oh,
Just the thought.
really?
Can't mail, right? Mm-mm.
I will ask him if he knows that and if he's made that one of his.
Probably not all of them, but a lot of them.
All right. I'm making a note. Okay, cool.
Magic.
So what we've ended up finding out truly is that, I mean, it goes back to you are somebody. Everybody who comes is doing something really cool. And then ultimately ends up meeting other people who might need their services, might do a business program together, might hire them for something.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah,
There's a
yeah.
lot of
So it's
win-win going on.
a lot, a
There's
lot.
no downside in that, which is
Yeah.
one of your tips. Learn from people who are different from yourself.
Yes. Wait, I didn't finish my note and I'm gonna forget. Okay, my chicken scratch is terrible. Um, I so um in 2014, my teammate named Mark came to me and he said, the community is calling us recovery hardware. And I cried. You can't give yourself a nickname. You certainly can't give yourself a nickname as meaningful as this. But we hired so many people, or have hired so many people over the years from the drug and alcohol recovery programs in Washington that the community, and not on purpose. I mean, this was just, it just happened. It's a very happy accident. The community started calling us recovery hardware. So I started thinking about the people who had taught me the most as a leader. Because, I started my business. I knew nothing about hardware. I knew nothing about retail. I was young. I'd never run a business before. And I realized I was learning from a lot of folks that I ultimately ended up calling my non-traditional teachers. Some of them hadn't graduated from high school. None of them had gone to college to become teachers or professors. Yet that's who I was really learning the most from. And it really just all tied a nice bow around this idea of like recovery hardware. And I think oftentimes we think we have to learn from the most visible person on social media or the best-selling book that we can buy at the bookstore or the CEO and other executives in the C-suite. And I learned everything I feel like everything I know about being a leader, I learned from cashiers, the guy that makes our keys, our delivery drivers, the store managers. And I think a lot of people forget that they can learn from people like that.
Absolutely. I want to highlight that. I want to put it on everywhere,
Thank
everywhere.
you.
I want stick-ons. because it's so true. And I get it, we think they're the leading edge in running a certain business this way, and that's where I'm going to get my information. And they've made all this money, but down and dirty, grit learning, I call it, man, that's where.
Yeah. And those people are those the people who have built these big businesses. I mean, they're super smart and successful,
Yeah.
and we can absolutely learn from those people, and I do. But I also think that they're we miss a lot if we forget to
Yep.
look everywhere. Yeah.
It's an and. It's an and.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So it's an and. It's not one. It's the whole pack.
yes.
One of my favorite people in the whole world that I met was a gentleman that was handing out towels in the men's bathroom. I didn't go in, well, I did. I went in the men's bathroom by accident. Okay. But the joy he got and how he handed out, I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry," but the way he made me feel special and it was okay, and how he handed that towel out, he said, and I was in my 20s, he was like, "I make a big difference to a lot of people
Oh, I
single day."
love that. He knew it. He knew his value.
And I didn't get it I was young, but man,
Yeah.
oh man, did it stick with me. He didn't just
Yep.
hand that towel out. He handed it out and he could read people and what their day was like. And then there was a tip jar. And he said, "I'm doing it for the love of it, but it does pay the bill."
That's so great. It's so true. I said years ago, we've gotten away in this country specifically from thinking that cashiers and retail associates, that's my world, are professionals. It's not a profession. And that's always bugged me because I think there is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be able to be and respected as a professional cashier. It is a really, really hard job. First and last person a customer sees, you know all the products, you know where they are. You can probably, talk about their attributes, but we don't think of those folks as being professionals. And I remember years ago saying, we don't hire professionals, meaning we don't hire former plumbers and former electricians. We hire people who want to be professional. And there's a very big difference. And then they're trained to learn plumbing and electrical. Now, if a former electrician comes and asks for a job, it's not like we wouldn't hire him or her, but that's not happening. Those people have jobs. They
Yeah.
have a career and then they're done or whatever. I mean, most of them aren't coming to work in the hardware store. I think that happens in a lot of parts of the country. People said that would happen to me. It was never our reality.
Okay. So let's back up here.
Okay.
And I know you've been asked a million times, but I don't know the answer. And I know my peeps are going to want to know. So you said you didn't know anything about the business. So what made you go into the business?
I moved to a neighborhood called Logan Circle in the middle of Washington, D.C.
Oh,
in,
well.
Logan Circle. Okay. So I moved to Logan Circle in 1997, bought my first condo there because a really smart real estate agent told me it was the only place I could afford. It was an awful place to buy. I mean, it was a terrible place to live at that moment because every other block was empty, every other building was boarded up, the streets were full of trash. Logan Circle had been destroyed by the riots when Martin Luther King was assassinated, which really just sent the neighborhood on this long, dark spiral. Um, but early 90s-ish, people started moving back because it was cheap. So that's how I ended up there. And I bought a condo. My boyfriend got jealous. He bought a condo. We eventually got married. That's my husband now. And then I got laid off from my tech job. For the third time, I was in this tech boom and bust, just rinse and repeat cycle. And I got laid off and I drove home from work that day and I said to my husband, I'm not going to commute anymore. I had a long commute. My boss was a guy, and so no offense, but I said, I'm not going to work for a man again. And he said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to open a hardware store. He was like, excuse me? And
Yeah,
so I did.
but why? But
The,
why
the,
hard
the,
work?
well, okay, so that's true. I should make that a bigger point of the story. The neighborhood wanted a hardware store. So there was nothing in Logan Circle at the time. We had a pawn shop, a sandwich shop, a theater, the Whitman Walker Clinic, uh, and a really old, really gross grocery store. But the community association was super active, and all these people were moving in, and we would go to these association meetings, and everybody always said they wanted a grocery store, a pharmacy, and a hardware store. And the year before I got laid off, a Fresh Fields opened, and then a CVS opened. So I didn't, I always say I didn't have to sling bananas or toothpaste. That left a hardware store. I liked how practical it was. I didn't want to stay in the tech industry.
Okay.
I liked the community angle. I knew the community members wanted it, so I thought they'd support it. It never occurred to me that because I didn't know anything about it, I shouldn't do it. Never.
Thank God.
Yeah. You can't screw up what you don't know.
And you don't have to feel bad. It's not like I knew that before. I learned along the way.
Nope. Yeah. Yeah. I have a favorite story. I drilled a hole into the side of the wall with a drill, a power drill, one day because I was trying to help a customer who wanted to buy the drill, but she didn't know how to use it. And I didn't know how to use it, but she thought I did. So I had to fake it. And there was no YouTube at the time. So I always say, I couldn't dial up a handyman to help her. So I took the drill out of the box and I plugged it in and put a drill bit in it. And I drilled a hole right into the side of the wall of the hardware store. And I was so excited. I told the ladies this probably last year at the Westchester event that you just spoke at. And I like in my head started doing high fives and jumping up and down. But that was like totally my inside voice. I was very calm. I wanted her to think that I was a super cool, like badass hardware store owner. Um, that's how I used my first power drill. It was the first time in my life I'd used a drill.
Okay, so let's talk about that first year of opening, knowing nothing and learning on the job. I don't know you that well, but everything I've seen, I can tell that you love people. You
I do.
love and yes, learning along the way, but like you're right, a hardware store, I can tell you there's a lot of community involved, and people need things, build their home, and it's important. I bet you your people skills was your number one asset, and also how you treat people and treated your employees. You probably really listened to them and treated them like they were special and gold. And the rest you can learn.
It happened. The rest just fell into place. Yes, thank you for that reflection. I like to think that was a big part of it. I had customers that taught me how to use things. Older
But they
folks that
loved you.
they loved it. They wanted to come buy it, and once I got to know some of them that were actually handy, I would say, "How do I use this?" I had some great vendors who would come in, and I would say, "Please don't leave until you." We sell 25,000 items in our stores, which is a lot of items. And so I had vendors that would stay and they would teach me. I had customers that were fixing up their houses so I was 32 when we opened the first store. And so I would have, 40 or 50 or 60-year-old folks come in, mostly men, who were fixing up their own houses. And I would say, "Do you know how to use this? Or will you tell me what you're buying this for?" I really put the there are no dumb questions to the test.
And they loved it.
They loved it. Yes, because who
They
doesn't want
wanted
to
to
teach
teach
somebody
you. Of
something?
course, they
Yes,
wanted to teach you.
yes. They did. I had, I mean, still. So the first store turned 20 years old in 2023, and we threw a party at a local restaurant that was also turning 20, and we invited 20 of our original customers who still shop with us. Now, there
No,
are
no.
many more than 20, but there were 20 that Mark and I could immediately, my husband's also named Mark, immediately rattle off that we have either become really good friends with, that we know still shop religiously with us, that have been evangelists for us. And so we invited them to a party to celebrate our 20th. And it was so funny hearing them, like the things that they remembered, and some of them remembering things that they bought that didn't work that I said it should, or teaching me something, or just fond
Hmm.
memories of the places they fixed up because they could go to the local hardware store and buy the products they needed. It was fun.
Now that's a way to start a business. I mean, the joy I can see coming out. And like you said, I never thought, I don't know enough not to do this.
No, people always say, well, not always, but people say, what do you wish your younger self knew? And I'm not going to lie, I say nothing because I think the fact that I was so inexperienced and so willing to learn from everyone, I really think that's part of what made the business. Now, yeah, I wish I would have known this a little bit better or that a little bit better, but I am not going to beat myself up for not knowing anything. I'm not. And I think we learn in life when we're ready to receive the lesson. And there's only so much you can cram in at once when you're opening a business or, taking on any new endeavor. I think we
Absolutely.
have to let the lessons unfold when your brain is ready, when your heart is ready, and that's exactly what we did.
And then there was more.
And then there was more. And then we just kept opening more stores, more.
Now, was it all in the same area or other states?
We opened three three in DC, and then we opened one in Baltimore City, and then back and forth. So ultimately, we ended up with three. We have three great stores in Baltimore City, and then we have a couple in the surrounding counties outside of DC. We have six in the district, so the majority are still here in Washington. And we've bought and built. So over the years, we've built 10 from scratch. The first six or seven we built from scratch.
Mm.
We've purchased five from retiring owners, and then we had two that didn't work, and we had to close them. So we've kind of done it all.
It sounds wonderful and exciting. And I love that you told me like there was somebody that retired. You're like, I wish I would have known. I would have bought that one.
Yeah, if it's good, there's an owner for sure.
All right, we got to get into this one. Write down your stories that you tell often and document 10 different lessons or morals that came from those stories. Okay, how'd you come up? This is awesome. I can see where you're going, but what made you think of that? I mean, you're right. There's stories we tell over and over again.
So, or stories that our parents tell us or our grandparents tell us. Now, you might not have gotten this in your lesson, but you and I met through connections from heroic public speaking, right? And it was a lesson that I got at Heroic when I was working with the
Oh, you
author.
had to make down all the stories. Yeah.
Yeah. And she said, write some stories down, and then as an exercise, see if you can come up. And I think she actually said 20 or 25.
Yeah.
And I remember there's a story I tell about a homeless man that I hired who was a tremendous non-traditional teacher for me. And I immediately wrote down his story. And I started thinking about all of the things that I learned from telling that story. And some of them were funny. Like he would say, when I asked him one day, hey, Mike, what do you think the moral of your story is? He said, oh, you can teach an old guy new tricks, just like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's a serious story about a guy that was homeless, but we figured out how to infuse, he did, humor in it and share it and make a lesson out of it. And I do that now with other things. If you told me a story and it stuck with me, I would write it down after our call and I would say, okay, what did I learn from it? What else could I learn from it? What could I tell an audience? Because you can tell the same story to 10 audiences and have it mean different things depending on what you're trying to teach the audience, right?
True. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think people think about the importance of the stories they tell.
I just did a story slam.
Oh, you did?
I do them all the time. Oh my God, these people are so brave. And they are raw and real. And you sit there, you laugh, you cry a lot. And most of them, there is a moral to the story. And
Yeah.
I get, wait, I can't, I love humans, but the more I meet humans and their stories, I'm just like, oh, we all have stories to tell and they all make a
All of
huge
us.
difference. And you never know who you're going to impact. You just never
Well,
know.
yeah, you never know. And you know this. You might have an audience of 1,000, but three people come up to you after, and you wish it was, 30, but three people come up, and you made such like, I've had people say, oh my gosh, I thought you were talking just to me. And you know that you've made a difference. You don't have to touch all 1,000. But if you can just one, it goes back to you are somebody. If one person hears the story that you're telling and feels like you're talking to them, you can make a difference.
And I've had people come up to me and I don't even know how they got that out of the story, but it made an impact on them. I'm like, okay.
Well, then you have to write that down, right? You go back to your list of what were my morals or lessons, and oh my God, here's another one.
So see, I didn't do that. I have to do that. Oh my goodness. All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna have just quick because I wanted to get the other ones in because they're so unique and different. The word
Mm.
just scratch it out.
I have been known to curse like a sailor. And, we joke that curse words are our four-letter words. And I realized about 18 years into business ownership that I was using the word just like a four-letter word, basically. And I caught myself one day saying, I am just a chick that runs hardware stores. And I know I'd probably said that a million times. And for whatever reason that day, it made me mad. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not just anything. Um, and then I started thinking, if my team hears me talking about myself that way, would they think I would talk about them that way? Like I
Mhm.
would never say, let me introduce you to Ian. He's just the cashier. Ian happens to be one of my
Yeah.
favorite cashiers. I would never say that, but I was saying that about myself. Um, which was perfect as a segue to selling our business to our team through an ESOP and an employee stock ownership program because I realized that my team could also own the business. Everything was bigger than I was giving it credit, and that I, as the leader of a small business, wasn't giving that small business enough credit for also being able to change lives. And that
Mhm.
started with me realizing that none of us are just anything. Yeah.
I love that. I love it. And it is, I mean, I know it, but I catch myself. I catch myself.
You will now. You'll say even more. Yeah. Strike it out. Do you? I think you dance, right? You like mo motion and stuff. That's you, right? I've never seen the Barbie movie. I probably should invent that because all my girlfriends say I would love it. But there's a song in there where Ken does this little ditty. I've done this on stage, so I can dance, but I can't sing. And he says, "I'm just Ken. Anywhere else, I'd be a 10." He's made
Ooh,
Mattel billions of dollars. He made Barbie happy for decades. But he sings this song about he's just the sidekick. He's not.
and I saw the movie twice and I didn't even pick that up.
Yeah,
You would like
yeah,
the movie, the thing you do with your girlfriends, you know?
yep, yep.
All right, Gina. So as we wrap up here, keynote speaking, what made you branch out and say, I'm going to take this show on the road?
I knew I was going to retire as the CEO. And I really just wanted to share some lessons and meet lots of new people. I competed in speech and debate in high school, which of course was a million years ago, but I just remembered really loving it. And then I found heroic public speaking to really enhance my skills. And it just set me off on this path of finding stages where I can share the stories of my team, hopefully encourage other business owners to hire from a non-traditional workforce,
Love
empower
it.
women who are building businesses. Yeah, I love it.
Wait, oh, wait, I've never heard this quite said, and I know a lot of speakers. Finding stages.
Really? Doesn't everybody say that?
Well, maybe, but not that I know of. I'm going to find stages.
I want a stage. I love a stage. And not because I want the limelight. I just get so much out of meeting new people. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love people, but I also love being on stage sometimes.
Well, yeah, no, I definitely do. I did a webinar yesterday with the National Speakers Association, and one of the people on the panel said, we give a speech, that's a gift. Like you're giving a gift to the audience. And I loved that. I've never heard it put that way. And you want to be the speaker that the audience needs to hear. It's not about the speaker, it's about the audience. And I just loved how that was framed. Yeah.
Give a gift.
You're giving something and you give gifts. So yeah. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. All right. There's lots of stuff here. I got lots of scribble scrabble, Gina. I knew
I
it would
love
be.
it.
I love it. All
This
right.
was fun.
Before we go,
Yes.
how can they find you? How can they reach you? How can they book you? How can they talk to you? I love your LinkedIn page, by the way.
Oh, they can find me on LinkedIn at Gina Schaefer. Please. I've made some really cool friends. I was interviewed by an author in South Africa when I was in South Africa because I met her on LinkedIn. That's my favorite LinkedIn story of the year. If you don't think that you can make connections and friends and
Oh yeah, can. Yeah.
network, yeah, yeah. Kim Whitaker is my South African buddy now. So LinkedIn is the biggest way to connect with me for sure. I'm on Instagram at Gina Schaefer DC. My website, ginaschaefer.com. As long as you can spell my last name that has a million spellings, as long as you can spell it, you can find me on social media.
Okay, and my last thing is, so what's good for 2026? What do you want to do?
Well, oh
Have more dinner
gosh.
parties? No, I'm kidding.
Yes, I'm definitely having more dinner parties. I'm taking a 30-day cruise through Asia. So very selfishly, I am super excited for that trip. I've only ever been to Japan, so we're calling this like our Grand Asian Overview. We'll be in 6 or 7
Ooh,
countries. Yeah, so that I'm super excited about. I'm giving my first keynote on succession planning, which is very
wow,
near and dear to my heart.
yeah,
Um, so I am in the throes right now of writing that, and I'm super excited about it. It's a topic that I want to make fun and funny and relevant.
yeah,
Everyone's talking about the silver tsunami and blah blah blah. So I would say, personally, it's the trips. Professionally, it's the finding more stages and really figuring out a bigger and better way to talk about exit strategies.
yeah. I love that.
Yeah,
So
thank
needed, so needed, so needed,
thank you.
Gina Schaefer. All right, my hey, I got something to say, women and men that support us around the world. Come on, you loved Gina. You're going to want to share it, like it, rate it, and spread the word. We really appreciate it. And until next time, you know what I'm going to say. Toodles, and thanks, Gina.
Thank you.